Thank you so much, Rachel. Brienne is a queer Black feminist, social impact strategist, guest lecturer, and community leader hailing from the South Bronx. She primarily serves as a core strategist for the Sunflower Strategists Consulting Collective. She is also the founder and executive director of Brown Girl Recovery, an organization dedicated to providing holistic healing and community brave spaces for femmes and folks of color in the Bronx and Northern Manhattan. Today, she will be leading our workshop. Brienne.
Hello, and thank you so much, Julissa, for that intro. Hello to everyone on here, sending love and positivity to all on the call today. Before I begin, I'd love to, before we begin to acknowledge what it means to empower ourselves and our communities and the full universe, right? We start with an important acknowledgement of whose land we're on. And I'd love to acknowledge that our meeting, though virtual, is still always held on Native land. And I'll just drop into the chat a little bit about land acknowledgements for our understanding. A land acknowledgement is when we give recognition and gratitude to the indigenous communities that existed on the land that you currently occupy. Acknowledgement by itself is a small gesture of empowerment to start this day, but it becomes meaningful when coupled with authentic relationships and informed action. So we do land acknowledgements because they're a great way to gain awareness and greater public consciousness of Native sovereignty and the cultural rights, and as a step towards equitable relationship and reconciliation. So I'm acknowledging that I'm currently on occupied Lenape territory in what we know as New York City, specifically the Bronx. And I want to uplift the brilliance present always in Indigenous communities. We acknowledge Indigenous folks as the past, present, and future caretakers of our lands and the lands that we occupy. So I'd love to start out with that acknowledgement, with an understanding that today is about empowerment. And we're going to think about empowerment in three different ways, right? What does it mean to empower oneself? Self-empowerment, right? What does it mean to empower the communities that we serve, right? What does it mean to have that be the foundation of what shifts and changes the world that we live in, right? The universe. So thank you for allowing me to start this space like this. And I'll drop a resource in our chat for folks who are curious about the land that you're on. It's not an exhaustive list, but you can type in your address, right? And in future meetings and spaces, please feel free, everyone on the call, to use this in any way you would like. And so today is a particularly special day, right? Where we get to honor and empower each other. And any opportunity to do that with a diverse set of leaders and change makers is a win. So we're gonna be focusing our next couple of minutes of our time on self-empowerment by way of uplifting and acknowledging our childhood selves, right? And our futures. And so as we're beginning, I'd love to hear from folks either in the chat or aloud. What does the word affirmation mean? What does it mean, and what does it mean to you? What does it mean to affirm something? Beautiful. Amanda says to recognize it. Rachel says to agree, to acknowledge, to confirm, to see it and to own it. Beautiful. Sahira says to support and encourage. Y'all are so brilliant. We've got so many understandings, right? To be present, to see positive unity. Yes, to affirm all of us and all of our identities, right? We know affirmations motivate, they inspire, they encourage us to take action and to realize our own goals, right? To believe what you tell yourself. Pooja says self-encouragement. Jalissa, positive self-talk. Keep them coming, y'all. This is beautiful. We're going to be in a space of affirming, right? Our childhood selves, right? So what we're going to do with our time, we have about 10 minutes, and we are going to individually write an empowering affirmation to your childhood self, right? So putting yourself in a space of, some of us are closer to childhood than others. Some of us are in our childhoods, right? We've got some laughs from folks. Whatever that means to you, right? If you are someone who's younger on the call, your childhood could be the 3 years ago, right? What was different 3 years ago that's completely different now in your life? What are some of the tips and the tools and tricks from life that you've learned as a result of those 3 to 5 years of growth, right? And for some of us on the call who might be a little older, thinking back to those tweenage years, right? Thinking back to the 10 through 20 years where we were just trying to figure it out, right? Writing a letter to our childhood selves. And what is that letter going to be about, you ask? I'm dropping the prompts that we have today in the chats. So this letter could share hopes that you have for your future growth. It could share advice to quell, that meant quell your past anxieties. You can share a positive memory that's still present today in your mind from childhood. Or you could share gratitude for the person that that child will become. Okay, so we will take we'll have about 6 minutes to write, and then we'll come back. And if anyone would like to share one line to close from this space, be thinking about what you want that one line to be, okay? All right. Putting periods on the ends of our sentences. Beautiful. I'd love to hear maybe some lines from the affirmations that you all wrote. Thank you for taking that dedicated time. For folks who are curious about the music, that was Gaida. The song is called Morning Blue. I'll type it into the chat for folks a bit later. Um, for folks, anyone that would like to come off of mute and share one line from your affirmation that you'd like to share, please, Rachel, start.
Hey, I didn't write a very good full sentence, but I wrote down for the first one about improvement, focusing on that. And we live in a world of immediacy and the double tap and the sliding. And I wanted to take pause before reacting, moving forward. So taking pause.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for starting so powerfully. We've got Shanice followed in the chat. You are more than enough. Stay true to yourself. Beautiful. Beautiful reflection. Any other offerings? One line from your affirmations. Sophia says, you are loved by so many, even when you don't feel loved. So important to share, especially in isolation, right? Pooja says, one advice I'd give my past self with anxiety is to not worry too much about a future that is not certain. What's meant to happen will happen. Yes. Pooja giving us some wisdom today. You all have got some beautiful reflections. Lori says, when you feel overwhelmed, breathe. Yeah. Olivia, I can see your inner strength. Nafisa, you don't need to change yourself to fit in. Caitlin says, everything will fall into place. Don't worry. Worrying will only make things worse. This is where the wisdom comes, folks, right? When we start out the day with giving gratitude and empowering our younger selves, our current selves, each other, our future selves, right? This is when we are doing liberatory work, right? Caitlin says, everything will fall into place. Your feelings are valid. And what you are most worried about will never come to fruition. Absolutely. Don't worry about what others think of you. Jade, such a simple reflection, but so weighted, right? Even when it doesn't seem like it, you will get through it. I could read these all day, folks. I'll tell myself to forgive and forget the past because I can't go into the future. working and worrying about the past. Focus on the future. Live in the moment. Keep writing. Dream bigger and bolder. And so as we move into our next speaker today, just want to leave you all with this gratitude, right? That we've left each other. If we at all are feeling any kind of anxiety, stress, we're taking some of the cues, right? Scroll up in this chat. Take some of these life cues from our young people on the call, from each other, right? And as Rachel is ending us here, keep writing. Keep writing as a closing note. Thank you all for having me, and I will pass it to our next presenter.